Emmanuel Acho works for FS1. This came out of his mouth/Twitter account last night, probably about as angry as I've been in a long time. Quote, with the national championship hopes gone, Caleb Williams, USC quarterback, should consider sitting out the rest of the season. The Heisman is a long shot. College football playoffs are even less likely, and he won't play in the bowl game. The risk of playing far outweighs the reward. Business decision. Welcome to the show tonight. That is garbage, is what that is. And you got used to seeing that kind of stuff in 2020 in a different vein, because I got news for you, just like I did back then, and I'll tell you once more. And then it'll be a much happier show after this, I promise you. Not everyone who covers this sport loves this sport. And not everyone who works to cover this sport views it as a destination. It's just a springboard. It's just a rung on the ladder. And neither of those things in and of themselves are morally wrong. If you don't love covering this sport, that's fine. My advice would be don't cover the sport. And if you don't view this as a destination, that's okay. I'm all for professional advancement and you pursue your passions. Here's the thing. There are people who love this stuff. You would call them an audience, for example. I've got one. Emmanuel Acho has one. I don't know the dude personally, never met him before, and really couldn't care less because he could be the best person on the face of the earth. No one is immune from horrendously bad takes. That's a really bad take. It's terrible. And the audacity of people who get paid to cover this sport rushing to the nearest phone to tweet out advice to kids to not play the sport is basically how you turn off an audience really quickly. Now, there will be people, as I say this tonight, the 5%, who come and they defend Acho and they defend that kind of take and they try and take a moral or intellectual high ground. You know the types. I'll mention why in a second. You know the types, and that's okay. I fully believe I'm speaking for the 95% who either saw that or just heard it now when I say it kind of makes you want to throw up when you hear it. Emmanuel Acho is not a nobody. This is not a dude with 37 followers on Twitter. He is nationally recognizable. And so when you say that kind of stuff, it matters. It's like the college football playoffing of the sport back about 10 years ago when you had this idea that started to permeate the concept of meaningless games, meaningless bowl games, and people on national networks started to say that stuff. And then all of a sudden, players started to believe it was true because they heard the folks at the national network say that sort of stuff. And then all of a sudden you had guys opting out of bowl games, which you'd never had before. And then all of a sudden you had people thinking that after you've lost 2 games, you got to mail it in. If I got draft potential, let me go get ready for the draft. And you had fools masquerading as college football media types that wanted to sound like they were above the room or they had some bigger vision in mind for these guys, advising them, yeah, you probably should sit out. He doesn't have anything left to play for. Well, there is something left to play for. If you're a competitor, there's a lot left to play for. If you're a man of your word, if you follow through on any kind of ambitions you have, there's a lot to play for. For some of us, I'm speaking selfishly now, for some of us, this is the pinnacle. And I don't even care if it's not the pinnacle for you. Just like I don't really care if you don't like eating steak. I personally love it. I got friends who are total vegans who would never touch the stuff with a 10-foot pole, and I'm happy to hear their opinion on it. But if you apply for a job at Morton's and you walk in the kitchen the first day and start railing against meat consumption, you're going to get blowback. Just like Emmanuel Acho rightly got blowback by posting that garbage opinion.